All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
Here's Johnny.
Vanity. Definitely my favorite sin.
I am the devil, and I am here to do the devil's work.
The power of Christ compels you.
This is my boomstick.
What's your favorite scary movie?
What up, horror heads, and welcome to Shiver, a horror movie podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Daniel DeBona.
And I'm David Uyoa.
And we are here on the holiest of the horror movie weeks, 2 days before Halloween, if you're watching us live. If you're listening, Halloween is past. I hope you had a good time. If you're watching us live, we're getting there, right? We got All Hallows Eve coming up. We get into Halloween. We got All Saints Day, just all that fantastic, spooky shit that is coming up in the next couple of days. And we've got a movie that people have been on our necks about for almost a year, if not right at a year at this point.
Just about, yeah.
Yeah. It finally is streaming somewhere other than like Screambox or something like that apparently just randomly gets a hold of the exclusive rights to a horror movie every once in a while. This week, we're talking The Substance. It's flashy. It's body horror. It's art. It's a small show. It's 2.5 hours long. Let's get into The Substance. So in a section that we are calling Fine French Feminism, Dave, give us your initial reactions to The Substance.
So usually I know exactly which way the show's going to go. And usually I can say that you and I are going to agree on things. I have no idea the way this one's going to go. This, I feel like, has been such a divisive movie. People that I expect to absolutely love this movie hate this movie. People that I expect to hate this movie love this movie. I, on my own part, absolutely loved it. I felt that it was on the level of David Cronenberg body horror. I felt that the script was just outstanding. I think this is one of the best written movies that we've ever had on the podcast. There is so much to this, and yet there's almost nothing to this movie.
There it is.
It's
the thing, right?
It's a master of minimalist storytelling. There's like a germ of an idea. There is one idea, and that one idea is pounded to death and then brought back and pounded to death some more. Like it is so one track minded and knows that it's one track minded and doesn't want to be anything other than an allegory. Like, it's not even symbolism. Like, it's just right in your face. Like, yo, look at this, and don't be confused about it, because like, French cinema can be that way sometimes. Like, it's so ambiguous and so vague and so artistic that you're like, oh wow, it was beautiful, I didn't know what I watched, but it was great. Or it was great, ? Like, you still don't know at the end of it. I saw one called She Is Conan recently. Weirdest fucking movie I've ever seen, but fuck did I love it. And that's kind of what this movie is, except you know exactly what it is going into it. You know exactly what it is leaving it. And I am never surprised by where the story goes, but I am surprised at how adept the director, Coralie Farge, I think her name is.
I'm going Farge. That's been my thought.
Farge, yeah, Coralie Farge. I was just trying to make sure I remembered what her last name was. Coralie Farge, who did Revenge a couple of years ago, which I have not seen. Since seeing The Substance, it is on my list to watch, and I just haven't had a chance. But holy shit, is this, I think, one of the best movies we've ever had on this show.
This movie and how I rate it, this is one of those few times where I am starting this episode now, and an hour to an hour and a half from now, I have no idea where I'm going to be. I'm not saying that I love this movie. I'm not saying that I hate it. I'm not saying that I'm lukewarm on it. I'm saying I have no earthly idea how I feel about this movie. A week later, right? A week into having seen this movie, I still don't know. Like, I've desperately needed to talk about this movie with someone. And so I'm so glad that we're getting to do this. This movie, I was stunned at how little like dialogue there was, or just like
it's almost a silent movie.
Yes, so much of this movie is visually just stunning. So much of it is confusing, but then makes some sense. But then there are times where I kind of want some more exposition, and then I think about it for another 10 minutes, and I'm like, nope, don't need that. Better without it. And I've been back and forth with this thing so many times. What I can't say at the top is this movie is fucking gorgeous. Hard pressed to think of the last movie we did. We talk about how great the cinematography is a lot. Hard pressed to find the last movie we talked about where I was just stunned. Every shot, every set, every bit of lighting and color, everything in this movie is so intentional and so pretty. God, this is a pretty movie. So, there's a pro, right? The cons, like did I want more talking and less just like discordant, odd music? I don't know. I don't know if that would have taken from it or added to it. So I'm very excited to be talking about it. I don't know how I feel about this movie. I know I'm not lukewarm about it. Like, I know that it's going to go one way or the other. And when we get into story, there's a whole section of it that I've just got to discuss, because it's either perfect or it's dog shit, and I can't figure out which one yet. I'm leaning one way, but ultimately this movie is the opposite of so often when we have to say, well, this movie couldn't find its identity. It didn't know what it wanted to be. To hell with that. This movie wanted to be one thing, which was, what are you willing to do? What is the cost of fame and lasting forever for you? What would you put up with? What will you stomach? What is out there that you wouldn't do if it meant finding a more perfect version of yourself? This idea of your self-worth being so wrapped up in your image was... have you ever watched a movie where your initial thought is you don't like it?
No, what is that? A movie?
Where your initial thought is, I fucking hate this. It pissed me off so bad. And then you realize that it pissed you off because it struck like a really personal chord. Like it and you
once.
And you're like, oh God, this is art. Right? Like, you're trying to elicit emotion out of me, and the emotion you're getting, it was bothersome to me at first, but that's a me problem, not a movie problem. That's where I kept getting stuck with this. I kept getting pissed off during this movie, and then I realized it's because it was assaulting my ego at levels untold. It was abusing me emotionally. And maybe at the end I was a better person for it. I'm not sure yet. So let's get into it.
For me, by the way, it was When Evil Lurks. And I was so glad that I had time between when we said we were doing When Evil Lurks and when we actually did When Evil Lurks, because it gave me, I think it was something like 6 months.
It was a long ass time.
Yeah, it was a long time. And when I finally saw it again, I was like, oh no, the problem's not the movie, the problem's me.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was absolutely me. About 2/3 of the way through this, around what was essentially the denouement before the it all falls apart finale of this movie. Around that point, I was like, "Oh shit, I'm the problem." Like I am putting me into this movie. I am putting my own just deep-seated issues
Yeah.
into what I'm seeing, and then maybe that makes it great. I don't know that part yet. So let's get through what we're talking about here, right? So in a section that Jesus Christ, if anything, if anything, if there's ever been a banner, a title, just a section more accurate to our lives where we are now, we're calling this section aging. Am I right? I mean, let's get into it. The substance is about somebody who ages out of being in Hollywood. Demi Moore's character is told, "You're 50 now, kick rocks." And she's not willing to do that. So take us through what you said you loved it. So what was so great about the storytelling in this movie?
I think that what was fantastic about this story is exactly what made you uncomfortable with it, is how hard hitting it was. It pulled zero punches, and everything from the initial idea to the pen that wrote it to the lens that shot it was in on the message. And I think so rarely do we get such a unified vision. Something that I applaud this director Farge about is she had an opportunity to get like way bigger distribution. She was initially signing with Universal Studios, and this was going to be like super wide release, like mega buku bucks were going to be put behind this for distribution, but she was no longer going to get final cut approval. And she told him to go kick rocks. And that, I think, makes this movie on the level of, like you were talking about, like, when's the last time we had a movie that looked this beautiful on the show? I think what I've come up with is when we did the back-to-back-to-back Robert Eggers series.
Yeah.
Back in, what was it, February, I think?
Something like that.
So it's been almost a year since we've had anything that looks anywhere near this good. And we just did Bring Her Back, which I thought looked spectacular. So that's not a knock at some of the other movies that we've done this year. That's simply saying this is one of the best made movies I think we've ever had on the show, where the use of lenses to make us feel the story, those ultra wide lenses that they use to get us right up to Dennis Quaid's face.
Yeah.
And the group of men, that's really what they represent, is that's masculinity looking at women saying,
you're prettier if you smile.
You're prettier if you smile. Pretty girls should smile. That was it was amazing the way that, like, I as a man was sucked into that scene and felt like Margaret Qualley felt.
Yeah,
or like Stu felt.
There's a scene in the first Captain Marvel movie, right, where they like make fun of that trope of like the old guy who's like, "Oh, you should smile more," and she just like punches him, and it just kind of like, it just makes fun of the idea of that happening, and you just kind of you laugh it off. You're like, you know what, that is stupid. People should get punched. That particular scene was the first time that I think I ever not fully, but to any extent felt what it must be like when somebody when someone says that to a woman, right? Because that scene was, and you're saying it's wide lenses and all these things that I don't know anything about, but it was so uncomfortably shot that I was grossed out. Like in a movie that is rife with gore. There is gore and guts and viscera and blood all over this movie. That was just as gross as any of it in that moment. And it wasn't something where it was like, haha, look at this, she fought back. It was just like, oh no, I feel ugh. That was the type of thing about this movie. Like, there are so many instances like that where you get so sucked into it. And so I am happy to know now that the lenses and stuff like that were very purposefully used to give me that feeling.
They 100% were. And the thing is that because this was written by a woman who felt herself going through this isn't the, like, that story told like through the male lens. It's the authentic story.
Right.
There's and because there was literally no one there to tell her, no, don't do that, do this. This is one of the most unique and I think important visions that we've had in movie making in such a long time. Because I'm always astounded at myself, and I think of myself as a bad feminist because, like, my favorite feminist novel was written by a man.
Oh, yeah.
And some which is Madame Bovary, which, by the way, is always on the list of like the greatest novels of all time. But it also, like, does that make me a bad feminist if it's not, you know, Kate Chopin or something like that? We see this a lot in cinema where there's feminist themes and feminist stories, and yet it's always the male studio head who gets like final say. Like, yeah, let's do that. Or let's not do that. Let's do this other thing. Dennis Quaid gets to win.
Right.
That's not the case here, where Farge got to have final say. And what I love about this is how real everything feels, because when Demi Moore as Elizabeth has an opportunity to put a stop to this, she can't.
She can't make herself do it.
She can't make herself do it because she's so ingrained in this system, and so much of her own self-worth is tied up in the male gaze that she can't pull away from it, even if it's not her own thing, even if it makes her feel like a fraud because it's not me, it's Sue. That moment for me was so sad, and yet so 100% realistic, because I've had conversations with friends where I ask them, well, you know, if you are against making yourself up for the male gaze, why participate? And they never have a good answer. And it's truthfully, when you study enough feminism, it's made apparent to you. And it's because the women are brought up in the same exact society as we are. And when you're taught that your worth and your value is the value that men put on you, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
This movie, I think, does a better job at addressing that issue than just about any book I've read, just about any movie I've seen, any TV show I've seen, any study that I've read up on, any conversation that I've had. This was so hard hitting. You're right. It's supposed to make you feel uncomfortable. And everything about this movie is done specifically to make you feel uncomfortable. I have no idea who any of these characters are, where they come from, what they do, but I know I fucking hate them.
Yes.
Every single one.
And that's the thing, right? Like, that's where this movie keeps sitting so oddly with me, is it's like I said at the top, it's a lot of things. I mean, ultimately the horror subgenre that it's going to fall into is body horror, right? Because they're, like I mentioned earlier, just blood, guts, viscera, all that. We'll get to that. What's bizarre here is the idea of making something that, while I viewed it as a negative thing, I absolutely, I'm not a studied feminist, but I believe in a lot of I believe in most feminist things, like I'm not anti-feminist by any stretch of the imagination. I consider myself a feminist. I'm not a scholar of it, though. I'm a feminist in the fact that I, just believe that there should be equality across things.
What a wild mentality.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Have you seen a doctor about this? These strange notions that you have.
And so the thing about this movie is it made me so uncomfortable, and I kept thinking it was because I was not enjoying the movie. I kept thinking it was because something was missing, because I was missing something. I kept thinking that maybe I'm not the target audience for this. There was a movie that I watched last year that was all the rave. It was all the rage. I saw the TV Glove. I watched I Saw the TV Glove. And when it was over, I had no feelings about I Saw the TV Glove. And I couldn't figure out why. And then so I started reading about it. I was like, oh, this movie was just not made for me. There is no part of my life that was the target audience for this movie. It was a fine movie, but if it spoke to you, then it was something. And so I kept thinking, I kept mentally making these comparisons to I Saw the TV Glow, which is very unfair to both of these movies, thinking this must just be missing me, because all I'm doing is being confused and being upset. And then, like I said, I had this moment where I realized I was supposed to be confused and upset, right? Because I was being forced to live in a world that I was not in control of, right? I was put into a lane that while technically I am suited for, I was ill prepared for, right? You can ride a bike on the street in the middle of the lane, and you can follow all the rules, and technically that is okay. It doesn't mean that you are as well suited, prepared, or equipped as someone to be doing the same thing in a car. That was where I came to on this. That was the idea that I realized was being shoved on me here, and in not a bad way. This movie, I had one of my most prolific aha moments, right? We're both teachers. I had one of the most prolific aha moments I've ever had, where suddenly that clicked, and then it all made sense. I'm supposed to be uncomfortable. I'm supposed to be experiencing this as a woman in this Hollywood system that's run by men, and I'm supposed to feel objectified. As the viewer of this movie, I felt objectified. I felt like this movie was being shown at me, not that I was watching this movie.
Yeah.
And then when all of that clicked, I was like, oh shit. Now, so I have been doing a very good job of, when I try to avoid anything and everything about movies that I have not seen at this point in my life. I went through the whole thing where for years I would watch every trailer and read all this stuff, and I knew all the behind the scenes, and I'd be looking. No, I don't do that anymore. I knew there was a movie called The Substance. I knew it had Margaret Qualley and Demi Moore, and I knew that it was some form of horror and that everybody was raving about it. That was it. Absolutely the best way to go into this movie. So, so one big thing that I learned is something that we've talked about right up here from the top, is the fact that this movie was written, directed by a woman, Coraline Farragut, right? Which immediately made some of the icky scenes, and I'm not talking about blood, guts, viscera icky scenes. I'm talking about scenes where a camera's just very slowly panning up Sue's leg and giving us that giving us the view of her unitard that's riding up her ass. Whereas you're watching an 80s slasher, it's like, oh hell yeah, here we go. This is what I'm here for, right? Amazingly, in this movie, I felt gross when that was happening. I
shouldn't be watching this.
Right, like this is I'm not supposed to be seeing this. And so then when I found out like a woman did this, like you're saying, that it was her story to tell. She understood these things more so than, just a guy out here like, here's some tits and ass. You love it. I know it. Let's move forward. She was able to make us understand how uncomfortable that should be. It should be gross to stare at the ass crack of an unsuspecting woman, right? That is inherently a gross thing to do. And yet when we see it in movies all the time, it's this showcase thing that we're supposed to enjoy. And we did. Look, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sit here and say I fucking do. Yeah. Shower scene. Let's go. Okay. But it really hit me, all of that. And so much of this was told from a perspective where I was never made to feel like I just didn't get it. I was forced to get it. I was made to understand. And so then finding out that this was made by a woman, that changed so much for me. I really did like so much about this movie. The use of color just all over this movie. Whenever it's Sue and she's outside,
she's all in pink
and everything's vibrant. She's wearing pink. It's the close-ups of the lipstick, the pump it up sign and the neon pink, all of that. And then when Elizabeth in like her just bathrobe and all the junk food everywhere and all of that, and everything's just gray and gross. It was that was incredible. The shots in their apartment that made these hallways seem unending, that made this bathroom feel palatial. I have often depended on you to explain to me how pretty a shot is, to really make me understand how something is framed or why it's shot the way it is. And while I am always welcome to that, this is one of those times where I will say when the movie was over, I was like, I don't need Dave to explain to me how this movie is so pretty. Like I just fucking get it. Like I can understand like the placement of cameras and the things like that they've done to make all of this seem so unworldly while also seeming so grounded in the reality of Hollywood, right? It was just so bizarre in so many aspects.
And by the way, it was shot with one camera, but the collection of lenses that was used for this range from like various different optics makers from various different points in history to get these insane perspectives that we get. Everything from like the macro look where you're seeing every single hair on her thigh to that insanely wide perspective where you're seeing like 10 different dudes surrounding Dennis Quaid and all their faces are distorted because they're so damn close to the camera. It was, I went today through the list of lenses that was used in this. And
I love that you have a resource for that, by the way. You're like, oh no, I got a lens website.
Well, of course I do. I'm a giant fucking nerd. What am I? What am I supposed to do? Guess? Yeah. No, it's in fact, the cinematographer was one of only two people on the crew. So not obviously including cast, but one of only two people on crew that was not French.
Oh, wow,
And
okay.
Farge brought him in specifically because she's like, yeah, you're the one who's got to shoot this. And I'm so glad she did, because that really encapsulated her vision.
Yeah. And so, I mean, story-wise, I do think I eventually landed on the fact that that this movie allowed the cinematography and what you were watching to tell the story. We never find out anything about the company that sells the substance.
Mhm.
They don't weigh us down with some bullshitty explanation as to how or why they came up with it. We just know the substance exists. We know that it works on eggs, and we know that it works on people. And that's all we needed to know, right? The idea of creating this faceless company that's cashing in on vanity is not the right word, insecurity
Mhm.
of
It
aging
is
people.
it is a little vanity though.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I do think insecurity is, and more than that, it's aggression.
Yeah.
It's
And
aggression.
And so the idea of a faceless corporation taking something that affects people just all over, wide range of people, like I'm sure that Hollywood would be the best place to do it, right? But
Mhm.
the substance could could be very successful anywhere, I would assume. But so taking the idea of a faceless company that's cashing in on an epidemic that they probably helped create. Like right, if you want to
Yeah.
create some headcanon here, it's not a massive leap to assume that some Hollywood company created the problem of running women out, running people out when they reach a certain age, women specifically, and
Mhm.
then created a solution for it, right? They create a disease, create a cure for it. It's what is it? Vertical integration. You know,
Yeah.
it's our chips give you diarrhea, and then we sell diarrhea medicine. It's it's not a huge leap to assume that that's what it was, but it's also just something that we see every fucking day. I don't even watch
Yeah.
that much TV, but I listen to talk radio, and I constantly have to listen to commercials about some sort of drug for either low test. I listen to sports radio, so let me start. I listen to sports radio, so I get commercials for low testosterone, divorce lawyers that specialize in men, and erectile dysfunction. Those are the three
It's like the
commercials.
3 areas that men are most
Right.
concerned with. Yeah.
Exactly. And so it's one of those things where but I don't know. I couldn't tell you the companies that do any of it. I just know that I'm inundated by these commercials telling me that, oh, I'm over 40. My testosterone's probably low. Oh, yeah, I am tired. It must be low T. I should
Mhm.
probably get eugenics or nugenics or whatever they're calling it. Like something that sounds Nazi-ish.
Yeah,
Uh
it all is.
And so I love the idea of that company just kind of staying faceless and nameless. You just go get your shit from a locker. They give you like 4 rules, and fuck you if you don't follow them. Right?
And
It was
by the
great.
way, that is classic, classic sci-fi.
Yeah.
And I anyone who needs the background, you just haven't read or seen enough sci-fi. And on I think movies can be more than one thing. And this is certainly a horror movie, but it's also certainly a sci-fi movie.
Oh, absolutely.
And um you read anything or watch any of the numerous movies based on Philip K. Dick's novels or short stories, and this is it.
Yeah.
There's no explanation for how anything in the reality of this universe came to be. All there is this. Ray Bradbury, one of the best-selling authors of all time, never explains a damn thing. You
Right.
accept it and you move on. And you either accept that premise or you don't. but fucking accept it because you got to go along for the ride. That's
Yeah.
like saying, yeah, I ain't gonna watch that Superman movie because I know people can't fly. Well, I know you're a giant fucking nerd and you need to get the fuck away from me. That's what I know.
If
All right.
if there was a Shiver drinking game, one of the rules would be when Dave makes his Superman analogy, take a shot, and I love it, and I love it.
The other is mention Commando.
Yes, that would also be one. So I mentioned during the opening that there was something about this movie that made me realize that it was striking so close to home that it wasn't, and that I was mad because I felt attacked, and then I realized I was supposed to be. And that's what I talked about at the top. It's this idea of your self-worth being so wrapped up in your image, right?
Mhm.
And so in a much broader sense of image, your image being anything and everything surrounding your persona, what people see, when they listen to you, hear you, see you, whatever. They took it and they made it very, very literal. And this is about what you're seeing. You're seeing a beautiful woman who is younger, so she's better.
Mhm.
That idea of your self-worth being so wrapped up in what people think about what you're doing, or how you're acting, or what you give to this world, struck so close to home. Now, image wise, I love to talk about how I'm a punk and be like, yeah, no, I don't fucking care, but I do, but I fucking do. Right. I realized watching this movie that I was getting so upset at times, because while I say I feel like this movie was just being shown at me, there were times where I also felt like this movie was being like, hey, Daniel, message. Are you listening? Are you watching? Are you getting this? This shouldn't fucking matter. And yet, look at what she's putting herself through, because it does matter. Right. Or because it matters to her. I realized that the reason I was getting so upset at certain parts of this movie is because one of my biggest flaws is the fact that I do get very, very wrapped up in my worth being directly tied into the worth that people put on me, right? Like my self-worth and my societal viewed worth are so intertwined that if I were to try to separate them, I might die. Like my societal view worth and my self-worth are Siamese twins at this point. And I fight against it. I fight against it every day. I really do try. But I realized that message in this movie was, like I said, personally abusing me. It was whipping my ass. I mean, just belt to ass on me when it came to that message in this movie. And I was fucking exhausted by the end of this 2.5 hours. Not because it was a slog of 2.5 hours, but because, like I said, I had just been beat about the head and shoulders with a message that ultimately felt so personal that I needed, like, this ended and I was like, time to watch Beetlejuice and turn my brain off. Like, I need an hour and a half of Michael Keaton. That's what my brain needs right now.
You know what it is for me that makes it hit so hard is when you watch a movie like, say, Hereditary or Midsommar. These are very personal struggles that are central to the themes of these movies, and they can hit very hard. And whenever something hits hard like that, like it makes the subject matter more. But when it's so personal, meaning literally, like, it is about me, then there's something I can do about me. There's no fighting this.
Right.
Because unfortunately, I can change what I view myself as. The happy ending of this movie is that Elizabeth finds value in herself and says, no, I'm going to fight against society. What does society do?
Sweeps her up and throws her away.
Yeah, and that's the real ending, is that we are powerless against society as individuals, but create a movement, and that's where we can finally start to do something. Um, we, I see this all the time. I am, as I've said on this show before, I'm a hippie, dirty liberal, all that. Call me whatever you want. I
Fucking
for
commie.
almost yes, commie bastard. For almost 10 years, I've not consumed a piece of meat. Ask me how much change that's made in the world. And it is for that reason that I haven't had a steak, a burger, a hot dog, anything. It hasn't made a fucking difference. I sleep comfortably at night knowing that I'm not supporting an industry that I feel mistreats life that I value. So kudos for me, but what is it doing in the long run? We have to do more than just say, you know what, I have value. If we're not trying to change the system at large and do something about it, ultimately we're just as selfish as everyone else is. So you saved your soul. What have you done for me lately?
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that people are starting to get, not about this, but we're seeing it with it. There's been 3 No Kings protests in the US since Trump took office.
Yes.
That's astounding. I don't think anything like that's ever happened before, where so many people have come together and said, hey, you know what? Not for me, not for my family, but for the entire country. We're getting together and we're letting people know this is no good. We must move outside of the self, because that's what's doomed this country, is saying, well, I have to vote my conscience, or I have to vote this, or I have to vote that. If we are not seeing outside of ourselves, because she can change herself. Elizabeth, Sue, sure, change yourself. How do you change Dennis Quaid?
Right. How do you change all those faceless men that are the power?
You have to force that change on them, and it's not going to come from the substance. But the substance, like you say, that could very well be them too.
Yeah.
And that I think is really where the genius of this movie lies, is in how much it makes you think. And I think when you over narrate a story, you cut out the thinking. And when you have a movie with such a simple concept that promotes the thinking, fuck, I'm gonna keep rewatching this movie.
Yeah.
Because this movie, and go with me here, 2001: A Space Odyssey, have a lot in common. There's virtually no dialogue.
Right.
It's all visuals, and yet there is definitely a theme in that film, and it's different themes. But you can sit there and you can rewatch it and you can think about it, and you're gonna get something different every time.
Well, and I mean, speaking of 2001, I mean, the way this movie was shot felt like a love letter to the Stanley Kubrick school of film. I mean, it felt like Stanley Kubrick is looking up from hell at this movie, just astounded that people are still making things that are this visually stunning and tell so much story with just the way that it looks.
And in how many takes?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what he wanted to know. What was this, like 153? So you said something about towards the end of this movie. So I want to talk about the last 20 minutes of this movie, because in my need to discuss this movie with somebody, I did kind of troll the internet for some ideas and just kind of see what people were thinking. And you mentioned earlier that this movie is extremely divisive, and the moment that it all seemed to crumble for certain people was Monstro Elasu, right? And everything that happens going forward from there. A movie that was tight in everything everything it's done to that point becomes a 20-minute splatter gore of a film. And so I kept finding people who think that it was this perfect cherry on top of the movie that we've been given. And I keep seeing people that say it just flushed everything that the movie had done for 2 hours until that point down the toilet. I am visually seeing your indications as to what you see, but for the people who are listening to us, tell us which side of the fence you're
on. Everyone has a right to believe whatever they want, but you are flat out fucking wrong if you think that the splatter gore fest killed this movie. Just
absolutely
go the fuck away. Go the fuck away.
Yeah.
You don't deserve to listen to this podcast.
Yeah, no, I'm with you 100% on that. I think that the last 20 minutes of this movie was an exclamation point on the story that it had told until that point. I think that because it took me about 90 seconds to get over the fact that everyone was okay with her when it was just a cutout of Demi Moore's head placed over her body.
That fucking
it took me,
dude.
It took me 90 seconds before I was like, oh, I get it. That's how fucking shallow this is, right? Pretty face. Everything looks good. Let's fucking go. Like I said, 90 seconds of laughing at it for the wrong reason. And then 18 minutes and 30 seconds of laughing at it for the right reason, right? Because that was absolutely commentary on how these women are nothing but tits, ass, and a pretty smile. And she got off the elevator. She was wearing a dress. So all you could see was the pretty smile. They didn't realize that it wasn't Sue anymore. What was it? It was a pretty girl. And we're supposed to be doing this a pretty girl. I don't know shit about Sue. That you must be Sue. Let's go. And the whole fucking audience was like, oh yeah, there she is. Woo. And it was so good. That was a genius fucking bit. So I'm with you. If you are so far up your own ass that ruined the movie for you, shut us off. Right? Write us a nasty email telling us why you shut it off. Like, interact and tell us why we're assholes, because we'll let you know why you are too. That bit was incredible. Then the body parts start coming off. It's blood splattering everywhere, and it's all the social elite shitheads that buy into and create this system being forced to physically face the repercussions of their shitty ideals, methods, and plans. And I loved it. I loved it. Spew blood and guts and disgusting everything all over these people. Make them watch you transform while a fucking titty comes out of your mouth. Right. And yeah, sure. That's not the best word to use, but if I had said a breast comes out of your mouth, then it doesn't make you cringe the way that you should when you see this. So we're going to go with titty. A titty comes out of her mouth. She coughs it up and then it just hits the ground. And all of that, the idea that this had been good cerebral body horror until that point, and then it was just in your face blood, guts, and gore for 20 minutes was genius.
Absolutely genius. And again, I don't understand why. I can understand people who are like, no, I'm not into gore, I'm not into splatter. Cool. Then this movie's not for you in the first place. But if you were along for the ride and you were here for it, and then suddenly you're like, oh, well, come on, what is this?
Right. And so, and you know, one of the genius things that I did come across is there is little to no CGI in this
It's
movie.
all practical.
It is according to the wiki, it's puppetry, body suits. Let's see, what else did they list here? Insert shots, makeup, practical effects, dummies, and approximately 21,000 liters of fake blood to spray all over the audience at the end of that movie. That's Fede Alvarez remaking Evil Dead levels.
This movie was made for $18 million. And for the majority of the movie, the crew consisted of somewhere between 6 to like 10 people.
It takes that many people to tickle RDJ's taint before he'll go do a shot of an Iron Man movie.
I'm still getting over this cold, man. You're gonna kill me. However, on those special effects days, they had up to 200 people on the crew.
Jesus.
Like, every single special effect shot in this movie is a masterclass in horror filmmaking.
Yeah.
This is like, I'm going through like the encyclopedic like tome of horror movies that I have in my mind. We say a lot that the best horror for us, maybe not best, but the best special effects, they end right in like the mid 90s, because that was the end of practical special effects, and the height is probably sometime in the mid to late 80s.
Correct.
This is on the same level as Return of the Living Dead. This is on the same level as Reanimator. This is on the same level as Society. This is monumental, what was done in this movie. And as lovers of horror, if you don't support this, I'm not saying you have to like it, because everyone has their own taste, but if you don't support this, you are killing horror.
Yes.
Because no one does what the fuck they did in this movie. No one does what the fuck they did in this movie. Everyone does CGI. And there's nothing wrong with CGI. But if you can do it the old school way, and you've got a fantastic horror movie that's blending sci-fi elements into this thing, you got a cast of 4 fucking people and a cat. And you're like, hey, I'm going to make the best fucking feminist horror movie you've ever seen in your fucking life. And you're not even going to know how to pronounce my fucking name. You're the greatest fucking thing around right now. You're up there with Robert Eggers. You're up there with Ari Aster. All right. I'm fucking obsessed with this movie. And I'm fucking obsessed with everything about it. I haven't been able to stop thinking about this movie. All right. I think that this movie is an absolute triumph. And while I understand that it is divisive, and I understand that people have different opinions other than mine, I don't give a fuck about them. This is this is monumental, this movie.
Yeah, this is a movie that will be studied in film classes. This is one that people will look back on, and it has made its mark. It has absolutely done what it set out to do. So we've spent a lot of time talking about story because that's mostly what we have here. But we do need to get into the tight crew and cast of this movie. So in a section called The Brave and the Bold, who are you going to talk about first?
Okay, so we talked a lot about Demi Moore. We talked a lot about Margaret Qualley. And we're going to continue to do so. You expect me to go somewhere else with it? No, dude. Demi Moore, for me. There's obviously there's 2 stars to this movie, but what Demi Moore did here is a feat of acting.
Yes,
this is and it's not like this is the first time she's done it either, because I feel like Demi Moore is the kind of actress who constantly took risks in her career. And unfortunately, I feel like she was more famous for being the ex-Mrs. Bruce Willis,
right,
than for being an actress who takes risks. This, if she never does anything ever again, and I don't know if she's done anything since. Nope, that's the last thing. That's the last thing. And if she never does anything ever again, wow. The amount of vulnerability that's on display here is like it's moving. It's absolutely moving. And when you on or listen to Demi Moore discuss why she took this role, she doesn't see herself as Elizabeth. She's not Elizabeth Sparkle. And one of the things that she talked about is how when Elizabeth is let go, what she has is nothing. She has no one. And Demi Moore, although the fact that she may look like Elizabeth, she's not. She's like, I have my family, and I always felt fulfilled. And so this is not Demi Moore channeling herself and something she felt. This was acting. And when you come to yeah. It's RDJ's taint all over again. Fuck. When you realize that what she brought to this was something outside of herself. Sure, you bring something of yourself to every performance. I say sure, like I'm an actor.
Yeah, of course I do. I know these things.
I was in drama in high school, and all of a sudden I'm fucking Max von Sydow. Why'd I go with Max von Sydow?
I don't know. That was the most random pull, like of all of the absolute cavalcade of names that you could have said.
Could have been Peter O'Toole.
You could have been anybody.
Anyone. Why was Peter O'Toole the second one? Never mind. Anyway, that is absolutely amazing. She was not afraid to show that vulnerability. And she talked about how her manager didn't even want to give her the script. She was afraid of what she might think. Not of the script, but what she might think of her manager. This is such a subject that even though it's on everyone's minds at some point, male or female, no one ever wants to talk about it. If you've been a long time viewer, not listener, but viewer of the show, you've seen my beard get grayer and grayer over the years. I've considered dyeing my beard. Who hasn't?
Right.
It's a natural, but no one ever talks about it. You just show up to work one day, and now you look like you're 20. You got all the fucking wrinkles and fat of a fucking 40-year-old. Like, who the fuck is this guy? And now things are worse. No one ever wants to talk about it. So there's so much that she brought to this that to me was just absolutely astounding. She's never been afraid to go nude. So I wasn't shocked
And boy,
at
did
all.
she go nude.
Yeah, I wasn't shocked at all that she was okay with that, or how much she showed at her age. It was, for me, what was going on underneath the skin, underneath the surface. There was it was wild, absolutely wild what she did as she transforms into this monster, the monster inside that was always there, this hideous thing that she always saw herself as. It was man, it was so touching, so moving.
Yeah, I one thing I did know going into this was, she was winning awards for this, and people were talking about how amazing she was, and this was such a keystone moment in Demi Moore's illustrious career. And so when it started, I was like, all right, something's, I just kind of kept waiting. And I was like, when am I going to, like, she was doing a fine job. I was just like, but this is all kind of boilerplate stuff right now. But man, when she started changing because of Sue, draining her to stay awake longer, right? To extend her 7 days. And the way she reacted when she woke up and she had the one finger, or then the next time when it was, like the varicose veins in the legs, and that was when I was like, oh shit, here it is. Like, this is what people have been raving about. She was so amazing in those scenes. That scene where the scene where she's watching Sue give like the Good Morning America interview or whatever, and she's just making that entire like French cookbook and just wrecking the house, just to like shit on Sue when she does come back,
Brilliant.
it was genius. And the way that she carried herself as those prosthetics and that aging got worse and worse, that was David Bowie is the Elephant Man levels of incredible.
Yeah,
that was it. Was I never once was like, oh, that's Demi Moore in like an old suit. I was like, oh God, she got old and she's a hunchback hag now. Like that's what they did. Like she aged. I was absolutely floored at how good she was, because it's really easy to look back on the career of Demi Moore and just kind of laugh about it, right? Like, oh, she made G.I. Jane and Striptease, and she's done all, she's done some things, but you're right, but she's the former Mrs. Bruce Willis, right? Oh, that's Rumor's mom. These are the things that are easy. It's hard to look at this and then have to be like, I'm sorry, Demi Moore. I'm sorry that I doubted your ability to pull this off, to make me feel like I'm feeling, to be in these incredible scenes. And where I was angry for her. I was angry with her. Like, there wasn't something that's always amazing to me, and what an actor can bring to a role is, do I feel sympathetic for what you're going through because I'm watching something awful happen to you? Or do I feel empathetic because you're doing such a good job of conveying what you're going through that I am feeling it with you?
Yeah.
And what I had for Elizabeth Sparkle in this movie was empathy. It wasn't sympathy. I didn't feel sorry for her. I felt bad with her. And that's a fine but very distinct line in what an actor can bring to a role. And she killed it. It was incredible. So the other side of that coin is Margaret Qualley as Sue. Now, before this movie, if you had said to me, hey, you like Margaret Qualley? I would have said, who? That's and that is not me taking a dump on her career by any stretch of the imagination. It's just what I would have said. And if you go back and you look at her, you look at her filmography, that's a justified thing to say. She's never been like the girl. Not anything I've watched. I didn't watch The Leftovers. Heard it's good. Never watched it.
It's very good.
Okay.
Yeah.
After this movie, I will never forget who Margaret Qualley is, because while I was empathetic for the rage and the anger and the hurt that Demi Moore brought to her role as Elizabeth, what happened with Sue is what I talked about at the top, which is when I was made to feel gross when she was feeling gross. I was made to feel prostituted when she's out there just doing what she knows she has to do, which is sell her ass, right? That's she knew that. She was on her way to her chance for this show and saw that bodysuit and was like, that's what's going to get me the role, because she knew. And while Sue is portrayed as the villain of the two of them,
she really?
Well, I mean, to an extent, right? Like, to the fact that she's the one who's so desperate for everything to keep going, that she's the one that just ravages Elizabeth's body to keep herself going. But that's, like we talk about so often when we're talking about characters, that's the 2-cent take. Right. That's just the easy way. Oh yeah. Well, one of them's got to be bad, right? It's Sue.
Could we call her an anti-hero?
I think so. I really do think so, because there's a line from SLC Punk that I always think of. Matthew Lillard's dad, played by the guy who plays Shooter McGavin. I can't think of his name right now.
Oh shit. Yes. Fuck.
He's giving a talk to Matthew Lillard about how there comes a time when you have to stop being a punk. And he says, just remember, son, I didn't sell out. I bought in. Yeah. That's what Sue does here. Sue. Now, one of the bits of exposition that is left open to your imagination, but I'm choosing to believe that while separate, then they lived their lives separately, they weren't creating new shared memories. I do believe that Sue she had like the world experience and the knowledge that came from Elizabeth, right? That's the feeling you got. Yes.
I feel like they shared a consciousness.
See, I don't, because Sue, they were always amazed at what the other one had done when they came to. When Sue showed up and the apartment was trash, she was infuriated. She didn't know that had happened. When Elizabeth comes to and her fingers messed up, she doesn't know right away what happened, because I think that once they're separate, their consciousness is separate. But I do believe that until that moment of separation, since there is no her and you, there's only you. So Sue took what she knew from 50 years of life and however many years in the industry, and then she used it against them. That she set the traps that they fell into. She knew what that suit was going to do. She knew what the way that she acted was going to get her. She didn't sell out by going out and just giving them what they wanted. She bought in because ultimately she got what she wanted, which was another shot at stardom. And the way that Margaret Qualley toes that line between narcissistic, awful human being and ridiculously smart woman who's playing the system against itself was what I will take away from what she did here. Because while there were moments where I was angry with her for the things that she was doing, she also always made me realize that this entire thing, the entire use of the substance, was about self-preservation. So why should I fault her for now trying to preserve the part of her life that's better? If she is the more perfect version of Elizabeth Sparkle, why would I view it as a negative thing that she is willing to sacrifice Elizabeth Sparkle to keep the more perfect version going? That's why 2.0s exist and we don't go back and play betas. That's why when you don't go back and play the shitty, buggy version, you just keep moving forward with the patches and the updates. That's what she was doing. And ultimately, I can't fault her for that.
And well, I mean, narratively, if Elizabeth was willing to sacrifice herself, why wouldn't the new version?
Yeah, the better version.
Yeah. That's one of those things that I stopped thinking about. I stopped trying to figure out. I can't say I spent very much time trying to figure it out either. I felt like if it was important, I would have known.
Fair.
And so I kind of went along with what Farge, I think, wanted me to, which is, yeah, she came from her, and I guess they're kind of the same person,
Right?
And they're not.
No.
Cool. All right. So we'll just move on, and it kind of is what it is. My own headcanon was that there is some sort of shared experience, shared memory, almost like a hive mind, is what I felt like. Where the way I understand hive minds to work is like you have an understanding of what it is that's occurring, even if you don't know exactly what's occurring.
Right.
Simple directions like come protect here, go feed there, things like that. I, speaking only for myself, someone with a toddler, there are times where I hear shenanigans going on. I'm not in the room. And I know that when I walk in there, what I'm going to find is not going to make me happy. Sure enough, when I walk into the room, I am not happy. Shenanigans have, in fact, gone on. And yet I'm still shocked. I'm still surprised when I see it, which is why I think I can get behind Elizabeth waking up, knowing that something has gone wrong, and then seeing her finger and saying, you know what? That's so much more fucked up than what I thought.
Okay, there you go. The perfect analogy. That was incredible.
Yeah. Thank you. As far as Quali goes, I was aware of who Quali was before I watched this. And although for me, the main draw to this, because I still have not seen Revenge. So can't speak so much to Farge as being the draw for this as it now is. I was very much into Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. She had a small role in that, but a great role in that as
that
one
was
of Manson's one of Manson's gang. She was outstanding in that, along with what's that girl? She's everywhere now too. She was in Scream 4, and I only remember that because I saw that recently. Anyway, she was awesome in that. And a little more recently than that, she was in a movie that I am still obsessed with. Yorgos Lanthimos's Poor Things. And
I that is one that
likewise
has been
was
on my list
astounding.
for
That
so
is
long. Like I just saying, like I've been meaning to watch Poor Things.
I
Just haven't
think
got to it.
like this one, it's not really her movie. It is it's definitely Emma Stone's movie in the way that I think this is Demi Moore's movie, but it is no less Margaret Qualley, I think, in this movie. Like this is a 1A, 1B here. Not just because they play kind of like two sides of the same coin, but it's just her performance is astounding. I can see her and Demi sitting in a trailer before going to film and being like, what do we think is going on right now? And really getting very, very method and figuring this thing out. What she did was incredibly powerful, was scary, was sexy as fuck. I had a hard on this whole goddamn movie.
Oh.
It was so amazing what she managed to do with this movie. The way that she managed to be both like nubile and like, you know, oh, little me, but then it like she knew exactly what she was doing.
Right.
And managed to take, like you said, that 50 years of experience and turn it against the men, and yet still she got fucked.
Yeah, still lost.
Because there's no, I fought the law won.
Yeah. So I mean that's really the only two. You know, we've said everything there needs to be said about Quaid and the other couple people who showed up in this movie. I mean, it was Qualia Moore's movie. So there you have it. I mean,
the only thing I'll say about Quaid, who was great, I will say also, he ate 4.5 pounds of shrimp filming that one scene.
Oh my God.
That's a disgusting amount of shrimp.
That's a lot of shrimp, and I love shrimp.
Yeah.
That's a ridiculous amount. So, well, good on him. Commitment to the role. So there you have it. The substance, we broke it down, and now we get to the point where we've got to rate this thing. So if you're new to the show or if you need a quick reminder, we never rate a movie against others. While we've talked about 2001: A Space Odyssey, other movies from Demi Moore's past, we're not looking at any of those. We're just looking at the substance, what it gave us, and what we thought about it. So in order to accomplish that, in every episode, we create a unique rating system for every movie that we've got. And we've got quite an interesting one here for the substance. So Dave, out of a possible 5 life-sustaining spinal taps, what do you give the substance?
This movie's 6. It's amazing. It's perfect. I have not had time to rewatch it, but I want to rewatch it and rewatch it and rewatch it. And this is a movie that I think for me, like 2001: A Space Odyssey, rewards rewatching. And I might watch once because I really want to explore the themes in there. I might watch once just for the visuals. The way the infinity tunnel, where like the consciousness is transferred from one to the other, is shot, that's a feat of movie making right there. And it was done with 2 bicycle tires.
Wow.
That's it. It was 2 bicycle tires and fucking lights. That's it. This is a feat of filmmaking, and I'm going to keep talking about this movie and telling people who tell me they don't like it to sit the fuck down and shut the fuck up for the rest of my life.
I said at the top, I didn't know how it was going to go. I knew it was going to be, that needle was going to swing real far either way, because this is the type of movie that I do feel like it's impossible to be lukewarm about. I feel like this movie's either checking all the boxes, or you just think it was a waste of 2.5 hours of your life. I have now firmly placed my hat in the ring of it checks all the boxes. I'm not quite willing to gold star it yet. I'm not going to go 6, because I feel like anytime I do that, the second the credits roll, I know that movie was perfection. And it's not a negative thing for me to take a week to think about it before I decide. And if we were to redux this in 18 months and I'd seen it, 1 or 2 more times, I might be there. Not quite there yet. So I am going to sit firmly at 5 life-sustaining spinal taps for The Substance, which is still, a perfect score. It's just not a perfecter score. I think that this movie was gorgeous. I think that it told an amazing story, not even stories, just an amazing story. I think that it punctuated that story with one of the more genius scenes that we have witnessed in a very long time. I really did now, after having this 80 minutes to discuss this thing, firmly believe that this movie is one of a kind in what it's done, and it deserves a 5 out of 5.
There you have it. So perfect 5
and a half. Yeah.
5.5. 5.5. This is wow. I'm still just amazed at this thing.
So there you have it. 5.5 life-sustaining spinal taps for The Substance. If you've enjoyed this episode, make sure you check us out on all our social medias. You can head to shiverpod.com, where you'll find links to all of that. We're on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. All of those things at ShiverPod. We know scheduling's been weird, but we do still have plenty of stuff that's going to be new to both of us coming up as more and more stuff keeps churning out on all of these streaming services. We truly are in an amazing era of horror right now. Whereas at any point we could have been making this podcast at any point since podcasts had existed and had no lack of new movies to talk about. The fact that we're constantly being able to talk about new great movies is fantastic. And so we have got all sorts of stuff that we have been waiting to talk about, stuff people have been asking us about. So make sure you follow us over on those social medias. You can find out exactly what we'll be talking about as each week goes on. And thank y'all for listening.
Absolutely. So on behalf of all of us here at Shiver, fright you very much.